Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Anthony Gamer and I am Alligator. Today we're going to be discussing more homebrews for the Atari 7800. That's right. In recent years there have been a big resurgence and interest in the 7800. Right, a lot more than there was unfortunately when the system came out. But that's because the NES was dominating the world. Exactly. However, there were some really cool games for that system that had been released back then. But as he said, in recent years, probably about the last 10, some homebrew programmers have made some really killer games for the Atari 7800. In a previous episode, we showed you a few. Now we're going to look at a few more. You ready to start? Oh yeah, let's get to the games. Okay then.
In our first game for today, we have Tubes by Bruce Tomlin. In this game, it's quite similar to Tetris, except for instead of making lines, you are trying to make a complete circuit of pipes. Now, unfortunately, he did not finish the game, although this ROM is readily available and is totally playable. There was a few things he wanted to do with the game that he wasn't able to do because of the limitations of the 7800. However, he did have a complete version that he made for the Sega Genesis, which we will discuss later on when we get to homebrews for the Sega Genesis. Alright, Al, thank you very much. Now, next up we have KC Munchkin by Robert D. Crescenzo. Now, many of you may be familiar with this game as it was a maze-type game very similar to Pac-Man. Matter of fact, it was very similar to Pac-Man, if not too much. Let me explain. The game was released for the Magnavox Odyssey 2, and most people believe and agree that this is the signature game for that game system. We discussed the system back in a previous episode. Now, Atari believed that this was too similar to Pac-Man. Strangely enough, it wasn't as bad as their version of Pac-Man, but we won't get into that. Yeah, it seems every time you bring that up, somebody gets upset. Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so Atari did sue them for, I guess, the game being too similar, and won, which was too bad. The game itself was really cool, and honestly, the Magnavox Odyssey 2 was never going to be a real serious competition for Atari. Regardless, the game itself has developed quite a following back then and now, and leave it to Robert D. Crescenzo to make a awesome version of this game for the Atari 7800. Now, if you haven't played the game before, you're in for a real treat. Okay, next up we have a real interesting game, this one by Robert D. Crescenzo, and this one is called Failsafe. Now, it's very different than some of the other ones, which are more arcade related. Now, the story for this game goes like this. In Failsafe, you must make your way through 5 different terrains in search of the depot where you will pick up failsafe clues. One letter in the code in its correct position appears in the center of your fuel gauge. The 6th terrain is the most dangerous of all. The missile silo is heavily guarded by all enemies, including a minefield. If you make your way past this, you'll have to enter the 4-digit hexadecimal, so that's a big word there. Code to stop the launch and save the world. Do that and you will start over in a more difficult environment. Eesh, like the game couldn't get much harder. Anyway, like I said, a very cool strategy type game that you don't really think of too much when it comes to the 7800. This is more of a computer game, in my opinion. Oh, definitely. But like I said, on a much higher level than most 7800 games. So, good job, Bob. Okay, and next up we have Armor Attack 2. Excuse me a second, yeah. What happened to Armor Attack 1? That actually was an arcade game that was made by Cinematronics in 1980. Oh, so this is the sequel, right. Oh, okay, go on, sorry about that. I had never played it. No, I did, it was at, let me guess, it was at that grocery store Wilco where they had all them games that you went to as a kid. Exactly. I'm not surprised. God, I wish I had a time machine. I'd love to have seen that. Yeah, anyway, in this game, it's your typical war game as you are driving around in this Jeep with a rocket launcher, and you are trying to destroy these enemies that are coming at you from land, sea, and air. Great game. Great war game. Definitely one of those ones you can really sink your teeth into, and very addictive. Even more addictive than the original game. And of course, this was done by Robert D. Crescenzo. Okay, and next up we have Meteor Shower. This one was also by Robert D. Crescenzo. Now, in this one, it's kind of a combination of several fixed space shooter games. Add a little bit of asteroids, and you got yourself a game. In this one, the Earth is experiencing a very dangerous meteor shower, and you gotta shoot the meteors before they hit the Earth. Not only that, but some aliens have decided to jump into the mix, so you gotta defend against them as well. For those of you that love Space Invaders, Galaga, and all that stuff, you're gonna love this game, I guarantee it. Incidentally, it's too bad we couldn't play the two-player co-op. Yeah, unfortunately, Larry's son chewed up my game controller, and he has yet to replace it. But it is still possible to play by yourself, if you want. Alright, and next up we have Space Duel. Now, I don't want you guys thinking from just one look that this is yet another Asteroids clone, or something totally inspired by Asteroids, because it's definitely not. This is almost like a third generation of asteroid style shooters, but instead of just shooting against asteroids, you're fighting against some really cool geometric shapes, and there's more color added to it. There's some cool bonus rounds, and you can have two-player co-op and two-player where you're trying to outshoot each other. So this is really a cool game, and one, if you decide to buy any game on today's list, this has got to be at least one of the top 5 that you have to try. Alright, and next up we have Cosmic Cabbie by Carl G. Now, this is still a work in progress, however, the game is fully functional and playable, and you can find it in the Atari Age forums. Now, this is Carl's version of a really cool Commodore 64 game called Space Taxi. And I think you can imagine what the game is. You are picking up people from one platform and delivering them to another. Now, if it was that easy, it wouldn't be much of a game. And believe me, this game is not easy. It takes a lot of patience and a lot of practice. But it's worth it in the end. So if you've got steady hands and patience, or would really like to work on developing patience, this is the game for you. Hopefully Carl will have the game out soon so it can be purchased at the Atari Age store. But in the meantime, give the game a try, and don't forget to leave us your thoughts in the comment section below. Okay, and next up we have Beef Drop. This was programmed by Ken Siders. Now, of course, many of you know what this is. This is Ken's version of Burger Time, which Anthony did a really cool AVP episode about it a while back, and did a pretty cool episode on some of the clones of that game. So, most of you know the story. You are that chef, Chef Pepper, and you're trying to make these different burgers, and of course the food is trying to make hamburger out of you, and you sprinkle them with pepper and stop them, and it's just an arcade classic. Incidentally, I'm sure Ken used the word beef drop, or the title beef drop, because he didn't want to get sued, and I can't say that I blame him. This game, of course, is readily available at AtariAge.com for you to purchase, so if you have a 7800 and you love Burger Time, but since there wasn't an official Burger Time, this is your chance to play it. Speaking of Ken Siders, he is the programmer for our final game today, and that is Block Drop. This is his interpretation of Tetris. Of course, we all know about Tetris. It is the single most ported game in gaming history. Yeah, and since there wasn't an official release for the 7800, somebody had to make it because, Tetris has to be for every single game system, computer system, phone, whatever. So it made sense, and he did a smashing job. You said it. And I have to totally agree because, honestly, I am a recovering Tetris addict, and I'm not really recovering because I'm never going to stop playing Tetris. But great job, Ken, as you have with all your other games.
Well, those games were pretty cool, weren't they? Oh yeah, they sure was. So if you liked some of the games, let us know about them in the comments section below. And don't forget, a majority of these games are available at the Atari Age store. So head over there right away and pick up some or all of these games. And don't forget, there are more to come. There are quite a few homebrew games out there. We've only just scratched the surface, so stay tuned for some more.
Continuing on with our series of classic computers, next week we will be discussing the Commodore 64 computer.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Classic Gamer 74. It was a pleasure to present it to you and to showcase the talent of these many great Atari 7800 homebrew programmers. So, if you did like today's episode, you know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to click that little bell icon down there so you'll be notified when we upload new episodes. Well, until next time, I am Anthony Gamer, and I am Alligator, and we will see you all in the next episode. Until then, be safe, be strong, be healthy, and above all, take care of each other and be nice to each other. Because if I find out you ain't, I'm going to come down and bite you. No, you won't. Yeah, I will. Yeah, you probably would. Okay, guys, see you next time. Bye. Bye, everybody. I'm still going to bite them. Well, sometimes mean people need to be bit. Yeah.